Hello and welcome to the Daily Mill for Tuesday the 29th of April 2025. And today's Mill news. Today was match day for the under 21s. You may have heard about it. They won away at Wigan. So yeah, this is a match report from millfc.co.uk. Mill's under 21s were 2-1 winners over Wigan Athletic in the Professional Development League on Tuesday afternoon. AJ Matthews, Penn and Jack Howland were on target as the Lions came from behind at the Brick Community Stadium to claim 3 points. After a goalless first half, the Latics took the lead early on in the second, but Mill hit back through Matthews' spot kick after Sheldon Kendall was brought down inside the box. With 12 minutes remaining, Howland popped up with a winner to give Kevin Nugent's side a victory. The Lions now have one game remaining in their season at home to Hull City on Friday afternoon and sit in third position in the South Division, 1 point behind AFC Bournemouth and Brentford, who also both have one match to play. And the team was as follows: Preswozny, Mansour, Beaumont, Massey, Taylor, Ollie Evans, Howland, Kelly, remember Daniel Kelly, Celestine Charles, AJ Matthews, Kendall, and the subs were Lamptey on for Kelly at half time. Benicio Baker, remember him? So his little problem with his hip seems to have been on the mend, hopefully. We'll see how he comes through this. He's come on for Celestine Charles in the 56th minute. Whitby on for Matthews in the 85th minute, and Frankie Baker on for Kendall in the 68th minute. And the subs what not used was the goalkeeper Lindner. So yeah, fantastic result. Hard fought win. Mill put out a clip. I don't know, Mill Academy or Mill. They put out a clip on Twitter of the goal of the penalty. And it's a very cheeky Panenka, but he sprints up to the ball and then just stops and kind of dinks it over down the middle of the goal. So very cheeky, very, very cheeky. So that's confidence for you. That is confidence. I believe 19 years old, AJ Matthews. So I wonder maybe if we're losing at Burnley. If he's on the bench, maybe he can come on. I don't know. But I'm sure we don't want that situation to be the case. We want to be winning. So there you go. What that does, it does that. So Mill stay third, but they're on 63 points. Now, Mill will play again on Friday before the other two teams. And it's very interesting that this is literally similar situation to what is happening to the first team. So Mill are outside the playoffs. We need to win. Mill under 21s need to win. And we need one of the top two teams above us to drop points in the final game, which is literally the same situation for both teams, for the first team and for the under 21s. How bizarre. How bizarre. How bizarre, how bizarre. You remember that song? One Hit Wonders, huh? So yeah, the next game supposed to be taking place at the Den, although rather weirdly Mill's match report that I just told you didn't mention that the game was being held at the Den. Are they going to be changing it? I don't know. I think they've already been selling tickets, so highly unlikely that they would do that. Also, I can't show you because no one's written about it. Millwall Football Club have finally seriously taken into consideration that we may get into the playoffs. And what do I mean by that? They have postponed some of the charity games that were due to take place on the Den pitch, which obviously they announced that they were hiring out the Den pitch for your event. Like, you can hire it out, play some games there and stuff. So obviously a couple of people have already done that, charity games and whatnot. I think it was Mill Community Trust doing like you can play on the Den. games for kids, I think. So they're kind of like, I don't think they play full size. They're kind of like pushing it off, but it's like, oh well, get the kids playing on the damn pitch. That's nice. So a couple of those have been postponed. So that is interesting. We finally have Millwall seriously taking into effect that we might need to play a playoff game on that den pitch. So maybe they know something we don't know. I don't know. But yeah, good stuff. Now we got some comments, interviews, whatever, from southernnews.co.uk. Alex Neil: Mill should be proud to be in playoff race given everything the club has had to contend with. Yes, for sure. Almost certainly. Alex Neil said Mill should be proud for being in contention for the playoffs, given what the club has had to contend with. The Lions have won 7 out of their last 10 games to draw level with 6th place Coventry City, who are ahead on goal difference. It is an impressive run of form given the changes Mill have gone through this season. Former head coach Neil Harris left in early December and was replaced by Alex Neil 3 weeks later, and in January, forward Romain Esse was sold for a club record fee to Crystal Palace. The Lions have also had to endure the tragic losses of goalkeeper Matija Sarkic ahead of this season and former owner John Berylson in the summer of 2023. 3 weeks into Neil's tenure, Millwall 5 points above the relegation zone in 17th after winning just 1 league game in 13. 3 months on, only Burnley have collected more points than Mill in the Championship over the past 10 games, with the Lions travelling to face the Clarets on the final day of the season this Saturday, May the 3rd. Everything's always a collective, it's not just the players, it's the staff, it's the environment, it's the culture, and that's been sort of cultivated here for such a long period of time, Neil said. The club just recently has had to contend and put up with a lot of things. Obviously, Matty Sarkic, and I had Matty for a year before he came back here, and then losing your coach and selling players and change of ownership, and the grief with when Jimmy's dad passed away as well. And if you look at the sequence of events in terms of the amount of things that's happened for us to still be in contention and doing what we're doing, I think everybody at the club should look at it with great pride in terms of the determination and grit that we've got. Aye, laddie, I agree. And again, from the southernnews.co.uk, the lads will run until they drop. Alex Neil discusses Mill's chances if they make the playoff and why teams will not relish coming to the den. Alex Neil thinks Mill's willingness to run until they drop will give them a chance if they make the playoffs. The Lions are level on points with 6th place Coventry City, who are ahead on goal difference, and head into their trip to Burnley on Saturday, knowing that if they win and other results go their way, they will finish in the top 6 of the Championship for the first time since 2002. Bosh. After Mill's 1-0 winning at Swansea City on Saturday, April the 26th, Swans boss Alan Sheehan said he thought teams would not want to travel to the Den if the Lions made the playoffs. In Neil, they have a head coach who has experienced playoff success before. The Scotsman led Norwich City to a 2-0 win in the 2015 Championship playoff final and guided Sunderland back to the Championship 2022 after they beat Wycombe Wanderers in the League One playoff final. When asked if he backed himself if Mill will make the playoffs, Neil said, I always back myself, but it's not just about me, is it? It's about backing the team, backing the players and backing the fans. I haven't seen the comments by Alan, but I'm sure they'll be talking about everything that encapsulates Millwall. In terms of the hostility that the fans will bring for the opposing teams, the togetherness on and off the pitch, and how the players will go about their work. The one thing that we'll always do in every game is the lads will run until they drop, and that in itself is hard to beat, and that gives us a chance in every game. Indeed it does so. Now, obviously mentioned yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Or was it Sunday? May have been Sunday. I forget sometimes. It's hard to remember. What? Exactly. So they've asked Alex Neil about Liam Roberts because Alan Nixon on his Patreon posted up, he's going to be playing on Saturday. Well, Mill head coach Alex Neil reckons it's too early to call whether Liam Roberts could be back available Saturday's crunch match at Burnley. There had been a report yesterday that the goalkeeper was set to make his return from a hip flexor injury. The Lions must win at Turf Moor on the final day of the Championship season to stand the chance of clinching a playoff place. If Coventry or Bristol City fail to get a victory in that scenario, then the South Londoners will achieve a top 6 finish. First choice stopper Lucas Jensen is out with Achilles injury, and the absence of Roberts has meant the first senior action at Millwall for George Evans, 19. Asked about the Roberts story, Neil told the South London Press, "I can't confirm anything, it's too early in the week. I don't know where that's come from. I'm not sure if he's going to be available for the weekend." Evans made some vital saves in Saturday's 1-0 win over Swansea. Neil said, George has done brilliantly. We've got loads of players who've played at this level for the first time, like Lucas Jensen and Tristan Kramer. In key games like Saturday, your goalkeeper's going to need to make a couple of key saves, and you hope that they're ready for that. And George showed on Saturday that he was. The way I look at it and the way our model is, if you look at Ben Drake being on the bench, for instance, Ben Drake is on the bench because he's an excellent left back. And that's how the younger players get their opportunity. Right? He's got his opportunity playing. What it hopefully does do is, it gives the academy a reason to want to get these players playing as well as they can, developing, so that when their opportunity does come, like it has for quite a few, they're ready to go. That is it. That is it. Be ready. Be ready to get ready. Be ready. Assume. It could happen, the injuries. You need to be ready. You need to be ready. Now, we've got this, which is from Yahoo Sports. I think it's from One Football, I'm not too sure. I think it's kind of like where they've kind of like they picked up the story and they're showing it. So, what we have is today, the 29th of April, is the birth date of John Docherty. And obviously, it's the first birth date since he passed away in December. And we have this tribute. So they've got some interviews with former players that he used to play with or used to manage. And we're going to read this. So John Docherty tribute. Salman, Sweetser and Scales share their memories of Brentford Hall of Famer. So obviously, we have a lot of affection for John Docherty, being the manager that got us up to the top division. But, he is a massive... he's very well respected at Brentford as well. Very much so. So Dennis Salmon, Gordon Sweetser and Terry Scales have shared their memories of former Brentford player, manager and coach John Docherty, who sadly passed away in December 2024, just 1 month after he had been inducted into the club's Hall of Fame. On what would have been Docherty's 85th birthday, the club remembers the influential Scot, who was affectionately known as Doc. Dennis Salmon says, "I used to run through brick walls for John. I knew John from a very young age when I was at QPR, and he can rant and rave. He spoke very well, very calmly. He was a very good coach. I felt very much at home with John because being from the Mediterranean, I'm a very family-oriented guy, and he just had this way about him that I responded to. I've spoken in the programme in recent seasons about turning down Arsenal to sign for Brentford, having been selected as the Gunners' first pick out of 280 kids in a trial. And how I felt, more comfortable with John. Was it a good idea? I don't know. My life would have gone in a completely different direction if I hadn't done that. But money's never been a thing for me. Fast forward to when I left Brentford and I was on the same money for 6 years. Money wasn't the first thing on my mind. It was being happy and being comfortable. And John knew how to deal with me, and off I went there. He had a way about him. He was very thoughtful about what he said to me. He knew what made me tick because I used to run through brick walls for him. I remember in the first cross-crunch he said to me and Gordon Sweetser would win, and I'd want to be up there with him. And I was only 15 years old, but I was right behind him all the way. John wasn't a person who ever shouted in the dressing room. He's very philosophical about things, and he knew what to say and when to say it. And sometimes he would drag you into the office and just sit there looking at you, puffing around a little cigar, and he'd ask you a question and just think about it for what seemed like forever. Then he would just say, "I'll see you later." he was a terrific as a man too. You know, he had a great dry sense of humour. He was kind. He was generous, and I know he cared about the people around him. You know, John's wife Beryl looked after me as a kid, and he was invited to my sister's big Turkish wedding, so he was part of our family, really. The sad thing about my relationship with John at Brentford was the fact that it was less than a year after he convinced me to sign that he got sacked. And one of the main reasons I went there was because of John, and then all of a sudden, you know, he was gone. It was a pity because, you know, I don't know what could have been. I don't know what could have been in that sense, you know, if I'd stayed for a lot longer, but also I don't know where my career would have been if he hadn't asked me to go to Brentford. It was a great time in my life, and all down to John, really. I just wish I'd spent more time with him at Brentford in those early years. Though I love the club, you know, Brentford had been there for me for so many years, I needed a new challenge. So when he got the job at Millwall and came in for me, I had no hesitation, you know. We got promoted to the first division in 87, 88, and I got Player of the Year ahead of, you know, Teddy Sheringham and Tony Cascarino. The last time I saw John was actually when he had a reunion at Millwall a few years ago. You know, we sat down, had a nice chat, and just reminisced about how great a time we had at Millwall and Brentford. I had a bit of a go at him for leaving me when he left Brentford, and we had a chuckle about it. If we had each other's numbers, you know, we would have kept in touch a bit more, and I was really sad when I suddenly got a phone call from Brian Horn, our goalkeeper at Millwall, to say John passed away. And it's just ironic, you know, we'd planned to meet up for Mill's game against Coventry in December, and we ended up getting there, but without him. I'm told a comment he made on his deathbed was something like, "What game are we watching later on then?" And that's just typical of John. All I can say is that, you know, he was a great man for me in my career, and I'm glad I met him, and I'm glad that I spent my early days with him, and that I knew him. I can't really say any more than that. You know, he was a special guy. Gordon Sweetsar. Shall we read this one? Because I read the Dennis Salmon one because it's kind of a Millwall connection, really. I'll scroll down. If you wanted to read it, you can read it. Then we've got Terry Scales. I will just remember him for knowing exactly what he wanted, and as a football man, through and through. So there you go. Now, I'm going to finish by talking about coffee mornings. Mill's coffee morning to take place in memory of Ted Wilding. So Wednesday the 7th of May, 10 to 12 p.m. That coffee morning will be in memory of Ted Wilding. Ted, the club's lead historian, sadly passed away last July at the age of 83, with this particular event taking place on what would have been his 84th birthday. The Lions Coffee Morning takes place at the Den between 10 a.m. and 12 midday. Please come on down and celebrate the life of a wonderful man. For more information on coffee mornings, click below. So yeah, Wednesday the 7th of May. So not this week, not tomorrow, the week after. So what are coffee mornings? If you didn't know, every Wednesday, coffee mornings at the Den with tea, coffee and biscuits and more on offer. Interesting. Everyone is welcome to head to SC16, chat all things Millwall, like-minded Lions fans, and don't worry, if the sun is shining, cold refreshments will be available. The mornings will be completely free of charge, with the aim of bringing the Mill family together in a friendly and sociable environment to catch up, as well as arts and crafts for young supporters. Okay, so crayons and paper, I guess. So don't imagine it's just for like old fogies to go down there and, you know, like a library. You know, when you go down to the library and just sit in there. If you got kids and like a kid and you want to get out of the house, and or if you're in charge of the kid and you've been told to take him somewhere, take him to the park. Hey, come down here. Why not? Yeah, it's free. So there you go. And on that note, thank you for watching, and goodbye.